How growing 1% every day transforms your world. Stoic philosophy, the empire that began with a decision. Marcus Aurelius woke every morning at 4 o'clock. Not because he had to, he was the emperor of Rome. He could wake up whenever he wanted. But because he had discovered something that would change not only his reign, but the history of humanity. While his generals slept on silken beds and his senators drank in endless parties, the most powerful man in the known world sat in his tent on the icy borders of Germania, writing in his personal diary a revolutionary discovery. Human transformation does not happen in great leaps, but in small, daily, almost imperceptible steps that accumulate like snow on a mountaintop until they create an avalanche of change. This particular morning, in the year 171 AD, would be different. The emperor had just lost his best general in battle. His advisors whispered about retreat. The troops' morale was shattered. Any other leader would have despaired, but Marcus Aurelius had learned from the Stoics a fundamental truth that sustained him. No matter how big the challenge, what matters is the size of your next step. And on that freezing morning, as he wrote what would later become part of his meditations, he formulated the principle that would save not only his military campaign, but would still transform lives 2,000 years later. Grow just 1% each day. Sounds small, doesn't it? 1%. It's almost nothing. It's the kind of change you don't even notice happening. That's exactly why it works. That's exactly why, as you read these words, millions of people around the world are giving up on their New Year's resolutions, abandoning their diets, and putting aside their projects. They want instant transformation. They want 10 years worth of results in 10 days, and that's exactly why they fail. The hidden mathematics of transformation. Let me show you something that will blow your mind. If you improve just 1% every day for a year, at the end of those 365 days, you won't just be 3 times better, you'll be 37 times better. That's right, 37 times. Math is relentless. 1.01 to the 365th power equals 3778. But here's the flip side of that coin that no one wants to see. If you get 1% worse every day, at the end of the year you'll only have 3% of what you started with. Math doesn't lie, doesn't negotiate, doesn't make exceptions. James Clear found this out the hard way. In 2012, he was just another unknown writer trying to build an online audience. He decided to apply the 1% principle. Write just 200 words a day. It seemed ridiculously low. His writer friends mocked him. 200 words? I write 2,000 before breakfast. But James persisted. 200 words every day. No exceptions. Rain or shine, inspired or not, motivated or depressed. 200 words. The first month, nothing happened. The second month, nothing happened. By the third month, he began to notice that writing had become automatic. By the 6th month, his 200 words had naturally turned into 500, then 1,000. Not because he forced himself to, but because the habit had created momentum. A year later, he was effortlessly writing 3,000 words a day. 5 years later, his blog had millions of readers. His book, Atomic Habits, sold over 10 million copies. It all started with 200 words a day. But here's the secret James discovered that the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago. 1% isn't about the outcome. It's about the process. It's about who you become along the way. Every day you stay committed to your 1%. You're not just improving a skill or building a habit. You're rebuilding your identity. You're becoming the kind of person who keeps commitments, the kind of person who doesn't give up, the kind of person who understands that greatness is built brick by brick, day by day, 1% at a time. The Chinese bamboo paradox. There is a species of bamboo in China that has an extraordinary characteristic. When you plant the seed, it stays underground for 5 years without showing any sign of growth. 5 years. You water it every day. You fertilize it. You tend it. and nothing happens, nothing visible at least. Any rational person would give up. Any smart person would say you're wasting your time. But then, in the 6th year, something extraordinary happens. In just 6 weeks, the bamboo grows 30 meters. 30 meters in 6 weeks. The question is, did the bamboo grow 30 meters in 6 weeks, or did it grow 30 meters in 5 years and 6 weeks? The answer reveals everything about the 1% principle. During those 5 years, invisible, the bamboo was building a root system so deep and strong that it could sustain explosive growth. Every day of those 5 years, it grew 1%. You just couldn't see it. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher who was an advisor to emperors, tutor to Nero, and one of the richest men in Rome, understood this principle deeply. He wrote, "Every new thing excites the mind, but an educated and disciplined mind is not carried away by novelty." She understands that true growth happens in silence, in consistency, in the disciplined repetition of small acts that seem insignificant but accumulate like compound interest. Seneca practiced what he preached. Once a month, he slept on the floor. He ate only bread and water for 3 days. He wore his simplest clothes and walked around the city. Why? It wasn't masochism, it was training. It was his 1%. He was building mental resilience. He was preparing for any eventuality. When Nero finally turned against him and confiscated his entire fortune, Seneca was unfazed. He had practiced poverty. He had built a mental fortress brick by brick, 1% a day. The quiet revolution. Kobe Bryant woke up at 4 in the morning, every day, without exception. When asked why so early, his answer was revealing. "If I start at 4 and you start at 7, in a year I'll have 1,000 more hours of training than you. In 5 years, that will be 5,000 hours. It's simple math. But Kobe understood something even deeper. It wasn't just the overtime. It was what was happening in his mind when he chose to get up while the world slept. Every morning he won the battle against the pillow. He wasn't just training his body. He was training his will. He was depositing 1% into his mental bank account. He was becoming the kind of person who does what needs to be done, regardless of how he feels. And that's the true power of 1%. It rebuilds you from the inside out. Neuroscientists have discovered something fascinating about the human brain. Every time you repeat an action, the neural connections associated with that action grow stronger. It's like creating a trail in the forest. The first time you pass, you can barely see the path, but each passage makes the trail clearer, more defined, easier to follow. Eventually, it becomes a road. This is neuroplasticity in action. This is your brain rebuilding itself 1% at a time. But here's the part that will change. Your perspective forever. Your brain doesn't distinguish between a 1% improvement and a 50% improvement. For your neurons, what matters is repetition, not magnitude. That's why small, consistent changes trump large, sporadic ones always, without exception. It's pure biology. Warren Buffett reads 500 pages a day. 500 pages. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? But he didn't start with 500 pages. He started with 1 page, then 2, then 5. For decades, he added his 1%. Today, at 93, he is not only one of the richest men in the world, but one of the wisest. Every page he read was a deposit in his knowledge bank. The compound interest of that knowledge created a $300 billion empire, the price of mediocrity. Now let me show you the other side of the coin, the side no one wants to see. The side that is silently destroying millions of lives right now. If 1% growth a day turns you into a force of nature, the decline of 1% a day turns you into a shadow of your potential. Think about your day yesterday. Did you improve 1% in any area, or did you get 1% worse? Did you read 10 pages of a book or spend 10 more minutes scrolling Instagram? Did you do 20 push-ups or eat an extra donut? Did you have a meaningful conversation with someone you love or spend that time complaining about traffic? Each of these choices seems insignificant in the moment, but the math is relentless. A Duke University study found that 45% of our daily actions are automatic habits. 45%. That means almost half of your life is on autopilot. Whether these automatic habits are improving you 1% or making you 1% worse literally determines the trajectory of your life. It's not motivation, it's not inspiration, it's not talent. It's the small, invisible habits you repeat every day without even thinking. Epictetus, who began life as a slave and ended as one of the most influential philosophers in history, had a quote that should be engraved in stone in every home. No great evil comes suddenly. Think about it. No marriage ends out of nowhere. It dies from 1,000 little cuts, 1,000 little knee neglects, 1,000 moments when we choose our phone over our partner. No business fails overnight. It dies from 1,000 small bad decisions, 1,000 compromises with mediocrity, 1,000 times saying, just this once, it won't matter. The comfort trap comfort is the silent killer of human potential. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you're not just standing still, you're regressing. It's pure physics. Entropy always increases. Everything in the universe naturally tends toward disorder. Your body, your mind, your relationships, your career, everything is either growing or dying. There is no middle ground. The Stoics had a concept called amor fati, love of fate. But this doesn't mean passively accepting what happens to you. It means embracing challenges as opportunities for growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Every obstacle is a chance to grow. 1%. Every difficulty is an extra weight in your mental gym. Take the case of Nelson Mandela. 27 years in prison. 27 years. Most people would have been destroyed. They would have emerged filled with hatred, bitterness, broken. But Mandela understood the 1% principle. Every day in prison, he chose to grow rather than wither. He learned the language of his captors. He studied their cultures. He read about leadership, history, and philosophy. When he finally emerged, he was not just a free man. He was a transformed man. He was a leader ready to unite a divided nation. How did he do it? One day at a time, one choice at a time, 1% at a time. While his fellow prisoners consumed themselves with rage, Mandela built himself in wisdom, while others counted the days until release. He made the days count. This is the difference between living and existing, between growing and rotting, between becoming extraordinary and remaining ordinary. The transformation protocol now. Let's get to the point. How do you implement the 1% principle in your life? Not theory, not philosophy, pure direct action. The protocol I'm going to share with you has been tested by thousands of people over 2,000 years of Stoic philosophy and confirmed by modern neuroscience. First, choose one area. Just one. Don't try to improve 1% in 10 different areas. Your brain doesn't work that way. Willpower is a limited resource. Choose the area that, if improved, will have the greatest impact on all others. For most people, this is physical or mental health. A healthy body creates a healthy mind. A healthy mind makes better decisions in all areas of life. Second, define your 1%. It has to be specific. It has to be measurable. It has to be so small that it's impossible to fail. If you want to start meditating, don't start with 30 minutes. Start with 1 minute. 1 minute, 60 seconds. If you want to start reading, don't start with one book a week. Start with 1 page a day. 1 page. If you want to get in shape, don't start with an hour at the gym. Start with 1 push-up, 1 single push-up. Sounds ridiculous? Great. It has to feel ridiculous. It has to be so easy that your brain has no excuse not to do it. Because the secret isn't in the size of the action. It's in the consistency of the action. It's in creating the neural pattern. It's in becoming the kind of person who does push-ups every day, even if it's just one. Third, track religiously. What isn't measured isn't improved. Keep a calendar. Mark an X every day you reach your 1%. Jerry Seinfeld was famous for this. When he was a budding comedian, he committed to writing one joke a day. Just one joke. He marked a red X on the calendar every day he wrote. After a few days, he had a chain of red X's. His only rule, don't break the chain. The chain becomes your motivation. After 10 days, you don't want to break the streak. After 30 days, the streak becomes sacred. After 100 days, it becomes part of your identity. You're no longer someone trying to meditate. You're a meditator. You're not someone trying to write. You're a writer. Repeated action rebuilds identity. The science of resistance. Stephen Pressfield calls it the resistance, that invisible force that arises whenever you try to improve. It's the voice in your head that says, tomorrow. It's the creative excuse your brain invents for you not to do what needs to be done. It's the dragon that guards the treasure of your potential. Resistance is biologically programmed. Your brain evolved to conserve energy, avoid discomfort, and seek immediate pleasure. Growing 1% a day goes against every primal instinct of your reptilian brain. That's why it's so hard. That's why so few do it. That's why so few become extraordinary. But the Stoics discovered the antidote to resistance: premeditation on evils. Visualize yourself failing. Visualize the worst-case scenario. Visualize how you will feel if you don't do your 1% today. Not to torture yourself, but to prepare yourself. When you anticipate resistance, it loses half its power. Marcus Aurelius did this every morning. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, say to yourself, the people I will deal with today will be meddlesome, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, envious, and ill-tempered." Why this pessimism? It wasn't pessimism. It was preparation. When you expect the worst can't surprise you. When you anticipate difficulty, difficulty can't stop you. Apply this to your 1%. Before you go to sleep, visualize yourself tomorrow not wanting to do your push-up, your reading page, your minute of meditation. Visualize the excuse your brain will create. Visualize yourself doing it anyway. This mental rehearsal is scientifically proven to increase the likelihood of action by up to 300%. The domino effect, here's something that will change how you view personal growth forever. The 1% principle doesn't work linearly. It works exponentially through what scientists call the domino effect. When you improve 1% in one area, it naturally spills over into other areas of your life. B.J. Fogg, a Stanford researcher, discovered this by studying behavior change for 30 years. When someone starts making their bed every day, something that takes less than 2 minutes, it leads to a more organized home, which leads to a more organized mind, which leads to better decisions at work, which leads to promotions, which leads to more confidence, which leads to better relationships. It all started with making the bed. 2 minutes, 1%. This happens because your brain doesn't compartmentalize growth. When you prove to yourself that you can change in one area, your brain updates your overall self-image. You're no longer someone who can't stick to habits. You're someone who does what they commit to. This shift in identity is the true prize of the 1%. Tim Ferriss discovered this when he started meditating. 5 minutes a day. It seemed insignificant. But after 6 months, he realized he wasn't just meditating better. He was making better business decisions. He was having deeper conversations. He was sleeping better. He was working out more consistently. Those 5 minutes of meditation had created a cascade of improvements that transformed every aspect of his life. That's why the 1% is so powerful. It's not just about the specific improvement. It's about the momentum it creates. It's about the confidence it builds. It's about the identity it forges. Each small victory makes the next victory more likely. Each 1% facilitates the next 1%. Relentless patience. The biggest reason people fail with the 1% principle isn't a lack of discipline. It's a lack of patience. We live in a world of instant gratification. We want results now. We want transformation today. We want to skip the process and go straight to the prize. But reality is relentless. Great things take time. The Empire State Building was built in 410 days. But before those 410 days, there were years of planning, preparation, and foundation. The visible part of success is always the smallest part. The iceberg of growth is 90% below the surface. Jeff Bezos understands this better than anyone. When he started Amazon, he told investors, "We're going to lose money for years." They thought he was crazy, but Bezos was playing the 1% game. Every day improve the customer experience by 1%. Every day expand the catalog by 1%. Every day optimize logistics by 1%. 20 years later, Amazon is worth $1 trillion. It all started with 1% a day and the patience to let compound interest work its magic. Seneca wrote, "Every new thing excites the mind, but an educated mind is not carried away by novelty." This is the essence of relentless patience. Don't be seduced by the new hack, the new technique, the new shortcut. Trust the process, trust the math, trust that the 1% accumulated day after day will create results that will seem like magic to outsiders. Relentless patience is not passive patience. It's not waiting for things to happen. It's the active patience of someone who plants seeds every day, knowing the harvest is inevitable. It's the patience of the farmer, not the patience of the beggar. It's the patience of someone who understands the laws of the universe and works with them, not against them. The paradox of effort. Here's something that seems contradictory, but is fundamentally true. The less initial effort, the greater the result, the final result. This goes against everything our culture teaches us. No pain, no gain, go hard or go home. Give it your all. But science and experience show the opposite. When you try to change too much, too quickly, you activate what psychologists call the psychological stress response. Your brain interprets drastic change as a threat and sabotages your efforts. This is why extreme diets always fail. This is why ambitious resolutions die in February. This is why radical transformations rarely last. But when you change just 1%, you fly under your brain's radar. The change is so small that it doesn't activate its defense systems. Your brain doesn't even realize it's changing until it's too late to resist. It's psychological guerrilla warfare. It's winning the war without fighting the battle. Lao Tzu wrote 2,500 years ago, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." But he could have gone further. The journey of 1,000 miles is completed by those who focus only on the next step, never on the remaining 999 miles. 1% is about making the next step so small that it's impossible not to take it. This is the paradox of effort. By doing less, you achieve more. By going slowly, you get there faster. By aiming small, you achieve big. It's counterintuitive. That's why so few do it. That's why so few achieve lasting change. The inner revolution, true transformation, is never about the external. It's always about the internal. 1% isn't about doing more push-ups, reading more pages, meditating more minutes. It's about who you become in the process. It's about the quiet revolution that happens in your identity when you prove to yourself, day after day, that you are someone who keeps commitments. Viktor Frankl survived 4 Nazi concentration camps. He lost his wife, his parents, his brother. He lost everything except one thing, his ability to choose how to respond. He wrote, Between stimulus and response lies a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Every day you choose to do your 1%. You are exercising that space. You are choosing growth over comfort. You are choosing discipline over excuses. You are choosing becoming over just being. And each of these choices rebuilds you at the most fundamental level. Neuroscientists have found that it takes an average of 66 days to form a new habit. 66 days, a little over 2 months. If you do your 1% for 66 days, it becomes automatic. It no longer requires willpower. It becomes part of who you are. It becomes as natural as breathing. But here's the secret that few understand. After 66 days, you don't stop. You add another 1% and another and another. You build a stack of 1% habits that together create a transformation. That seems impossible to the outsider. The price of greatness. Let me be brutally honest with you. The 1% principle comes at a price, and that price is high. Not in effort. We've already established that effort is minimal. The price is in something far more valuable: relentless consistency. Consistency is the rarest thing in the modern world. We live in an age of endless distraction. Every notification on your phone is designed to break your consistency. Every new trend on social media is designed to make you question your path. Every guru selling the next secret is paid to make you abandon what's working in pursuit of what promises to work faster. Consistency requires you to say no to 99% of opportunities to protect the 1% that matters. It requires you to appear boring while others appear exciting. It requires you to do the same small thing day after day while others jump from one big thing to the next. Michael Phelps swam every day for 6 years. Every day. Christmas, New Year's, his birthday. Every day, his competitors took days off. They rested on holidays. They recovered on weekends. Phelps swam 1% every day. By the time he reached the Olympics, the difference wasn't talent. It was accumulation. It was compound interest. It was pure mathematics. But here's what no one saw. The days Phelps didn't want to swim. The days he was sick. The days he was depressed. The days when any normal person would have a perfectly acceptable excuse not to swim. On those days, Phelps swam anyway. Maybe not his best workout, maybe just a few minutes. But he kept the flow going. He protected his 1%. The architecture of habit. If you want the 1% to work, you need to understand the architecture of habit. Every habit has 4 components: trigger, craving, response, and reward. Manipulate these 4 elements, and you can create any habit. Ignore them, and you're doomed to failure. The trigger is what starts the habit. It could be a time, waking up, a place, walking into the kitchen, an emotion, feeling stressed, or a previous action, finishing dinner. For your 1% to work, you need a consistent trigger. The same time every day, the same place. The same sequence. Charles Duhigg, author of The Power of Habit, discovered this by studying a personal habit of eating cookies. Every day at 3 p.m., he went to the coffee shop and ate a cookie. He tried willpower. He failed. He tried substitution. He failed. Then he identified the trigger. It wasn't hunger, it was boredom. At 3 p.m., his brain wanted a break. The cookie was just the vehicle. When he replaced the cookie with a 5-minute walk, the habit changed instantly. For your 1%, choose an obvious trigger. If you want to meditate, meditate right after waking up. If you want to read, read right after breakfast. If you want to exercise, exercise right after putting on your workout clothes. Tie your new habit to something you already do automatically. Desire is what motivates action. Without desire, there is no action. But here's the trick. Desire doesn't have to be for the end result. It can be for the process. It can be for the feeling of completion. It can be for the X on the calendar. Find what motivates you and use it shamelessly. The answer is the action itself. your 1%. Remember, it has to be so small that it's impossible to fail. If you're failing, you're aiming too high. Reduce until it's ridiculously easy. Pride is the enemy of progress. Reward is what solidifies the habit. It can be intrinsic, the feeling of accomplishment, or extrinsic, a reward you give yourself. In the beginning, use both. Celebrate every small victory. Your brain needs to associate pleasure with the new behavior. The power of environment. Environment is stronger than your willpower. Always, without exception. If you want to grow 1% a day, you need to design an environment that makes growth inevitable and stagnation impossible. Psychologists at Cornell University conducted a fascinating experiment. They gave two groups of people the same amount of popcorn. One group received it in large buckets, the other in small buckets. The group with the large buckets ate 53% more popcorn, not because they were hungrier, because the environment suggested they should eat more. Your environment is constantly suggesting behaviors. If your phone is on your nightstand, you'll check Instagram before bed. If there's junk food in the pantry, you'll eat junk food. If the TV is on, you'll watch TV. Environment trumps intention every time, so design your environment for success. Want to read more? Leave a book on your pillow. Want to meditate? Leave a meditation cushion in the middle of the room. Want to work out? Sleep in your workout clothes. Make the desired behavior the path of least resistance. Equally important, eliminate temptations. Want to stop procrastinating on your phone? Delete your social media apps. Want to eat better? Don't buy junk food. Want to sleep better? Remove the TV from the bedroom. Don't rely on willpower. Trust the intelligent design of your environment. James Clear calls this choice architecture. You are the architect of your life. Every object in your environment is a vote for the kind of person you want to be. Make every vote count. The invisible transformation. Real transformation happens in the moments no one sees. It happens at 5 in the morning when you choose to get up instead of sleeping for 5 more minutes. It happens at 10 at night when you choose to read instead of watching Netflix. It happens in the moment of deciding between the elevator and the stairs, between water and soda, between difficult conversation and comfortable silence. David Goggins was obese, depressed, and working as an exterminator. Today, he is an ultra-marathoner, a Navy SEAL, and a living legend of human endurance. The transformation didn't happen in one dramatic moment of enlightenment. It happened in thousands of small moments where he chose discomfort over comfort, 1% at a time. Goggins has a quote that perfectly sums up the 1% principle. You don't have to be perfect, you have to be consistent. Every run he ran when he didn't want to run. Every push-up when his arms were shaking. Every page he studied when his eyes were burning. None of these moments were individually heroic, but accumulated, they created a hero. It is in the invisible moments that your character is forged. It is when no one is looking that you prove to yourself who you truly are. It is in the silence of consistency that greatness is built. The world celebrates the visible moments of triumph. But these moments are merely the inevitable result of 1,000 invisible moments of choice. Cato the Younger, the Stoic who chose to live. Having lived under tyranny, he had a daily ritual that exemplifies this perfectly. Every day he walked, barefoot through the streets of Rome. In the freezing winter, in the scorching summer. Why? Not to impress others, to prove to himself that comfort didn't control him. To deposit his daily 1% into the bank account of mental toughness, the unstoppable momentum. There's a point in the 1% journey where something magical happens. Physicists call it critical mass. Writers call it flow. Athletes call it the zone. It's the point where effort becomes effortless, where habit becomes automatic, where growth becomes inevitable. This point usually arrives between day 60 and day 100. Suddenly, not doing your 1% becomes more uncomfortable than doing it. Skipping your habit causes more anxiety than completing it. You've passed the point of no return. Momentum is on your side. Warren Buffett calls it snowballing downhill. In the beginning, you have to push the ball. It's hard work. It's slow. It's frustrating. But at some point, gravity takes over. The ball starts rolling on its own, gaining size and speed with each rotation. Your job shifts from pushing to guiding. But here's the crucial caveat. Momentum is fragile at first. One missed day can break the chain. An exception can become the rule. Not just today can become never again. That's why the first 100 days are sacred. Don't negotiate with them. Don't make exceptions. Don't accept excuses. After the 100 days, you gain flexibility. The habit is ingrained enough to survive the occasional interruption, but for the first 100 days, be relentless, be obsessive. Be the person who does the push-up in the hotel room, who reads the page in the airplane bathroom, who meditates in the parking lot before the meeting. Protect your momentum as if your life depends on it, because in a way, it does. The compound effect. Darren Hardy spent 20 years studying what separates the ultra-successful from the rest. His conclusion was simple and profound. It's not a big secret or special talent. It's what he calls the compound effect, small, consistent choices that add up over time. Hardy tells the story of 3 friends. The first decides to improve 1% a day, cut 125 calories from his diet, and walk an extra 2,000 steps. The second doesn't change at all. The third worsens 1% a day, adds a dessert, and stops walking to work. After 6 months, there's no visible difference. After a year, there's a small difference. After 2 years, the difference is shocking. After 3 years, they seem like 3 completely different people living 3 completely different lives. The first is fit, energetic, has been promoted at work, and has a vibrant marriage. The third is overweight, lethargic, stagnant in his career, and experiencing relationship problems. The second is exactly where he was 3 years ago. The only difference? Small, daily choices that seemed insignificant at the time. This is the power and danger of the compound effect. It works for you or against you. There is no middle ground. Every choice is a vote. Every action is a deposit or a withdrawal. Mathematics is neutral and implacable. It doesn't care about your intentions, only your actions. The good news is that you can change the direction of the compound effect at any time. It doesn't matter how long you've been headed in the wrong direction. A 1% change in direction, maintained consistently, will eventually lead you to a completely different destination. It's basic geometry. 1 degree difference in takeoff means thousands of miles of difference in destination. The Stoic protocol. The Stoics developed specific practices to ensure consistent growth. These practices have survived 2,000 years because they work. They are based on a deep understanding of human nature, not abstract theory. Here are the 3 essential practices for your daily 1%. First, morning reflection. Marcus Aurelius began each day by writing in his journal, not about what happened, but about how he wanted to respond to what would happen. He prepared his mind for the day's challenges. He defined his intentions. He remembered his principles. 5 minutes, 1 page, 1% of mental clarity that directed the next 24 hours. Second, nightly reflection. Seneca ended each day by reviewing his actions, not to punish himself for mistakes, but to learn from them. What did he do well? What could he improve? Where did his behavior not align with his values? No judgment, just observation. 5 minutes, 1 page, 1% of self-awareness that prevents repeating mistakes. Third, memento mori, remembering death. Not to be morbid, but to create urgency. The Stoics carried coins with skulls on them. They visited cemeteries. They meditated on the impermanence. Why? Because when you remember your time is limited, you stop wasting it. You do your 1% today because there may be no tomorrow. These 3 practices together take less than 15 minutes a day. 15 minutes that transform the other 23 hours and 45 minutes. 15 minutes that ensure you're growing, not just existing. 15 minutes that separate an intentional life from an accidental one. The final resistance. There will come a time, and it always does, when you want to stop. Not because it's hard. On the contrary, because it's become easy. The 1% has become automatic. Growth has become comfortable, and comfort is where growth dies. This is the most dangerous moment of the journey. It's when most people stop. They've reached an acceptable plateau and decide that's enough. They stop adding 1%. They stop pushing the boundary. They stop growing. And slowly, inevitably, they begin to decline. The solution is what the Stoics called the discipline of desire. Don't settle for enough. Don't settle for comfort. Keep adding 1% even when you don't need it, especially when you don't. Muhammad Ali had a telling quote, "I don't start counting until it starts to hurt." Think about it. Easy reps don't count. It's the reps after you want to stop that create greatness. It's the 1% after you've already grown 99% that separates the extraordinary from the merely good. Kobe Bryant didn't stop training when he became an all-star. He intensified. Warren Buffett didn't stop reading when he became a billionaire. He reads more. The truly great understand there is no finish line. There is only the next 1%. The compounding legacy, your daily 1% doesn't just affect you. It creates ripples that expand through time and space, affecting people you'll never meet, in ways you'll never imagine. This is the true hour of consistent growth. It becomes a living legacy. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations as personal exercises. He never intended to publish them. They were his daily 1% of philosophical reflection. 2,000 years later, millions of people still read his words. Presidents carry them, soldiers study them, businessmen memorize them. One man's daily 1% is still changing lives 2 millennia later. Your 1% may seem small today. That push-up, that page read, that minute meditated. But you are planting seeds in a garden you may never see fully blossom. Your children will see. Your grandchildren will see. People you influence unknowingly will see. When you choose to grow 1%, you are not just changing your trajectory. You are changing the trajectory of everyone you come into contact with. A healthier parent creates healthier children. A wiser leader creates wiser teams. A more conscious person creates a more conscious world. That's why 1% is an act of service. That's why it's a responsibility. That's why it's not optional if you're serious about living a meaningful life. Your growth isn't just yours. It belongs to everyone your life touches. The ultimate decision. We've reached the moment of truth. You've read about the principle. You understand the math. You know the examples. You've seen the proof. Now comes the only thing that matters. The decision, not the decision to try. Trying is the preemptive excuse for failure, not the decision to see if it works. If you're trying, you've already failed. The decision is binary. You will either grow 1% a day or you won't. If you are, then start today. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not the first of the month. Today, choose an area. Define your 1%. Do it now. Before you finish this text, before you check your phone, before inspiration evaporates and inertia returns. If you won't, be honest about it. Admit that you choose comfort over growth, that you prefer the known to the possible, that you accept mediocrity as your fate. There is no judgment in this, but there is clarity. And clarity is the first step to change. Most people will live their entire lives in the middle ground, wanting to change but not changing, dreaming of greatness but choosing smallness, knowing what to do but not doing it. Don't be the majority. Be the 1% that makes the 1%. The final call somewhere, right now. Someone is doing their first push-up in years. Someone is reading the first page of a book that will change their life. Someone is meditating for a minute that will become an hour. Someone is choosing to grow 1%. Somewhere, right now, someone is scrolling through Instagram for the 1,000th time. Someone is postponing their workout until tomorrow again. Someone is eating the donut they swore they wouldn't eat. Someone is choosing and decline 1%. Math doesn't lie. In a year, these two people will be living in different worlds. In 5 years, they will be unrecognizable to each other. In 10 years, one will be living their dreams, while the other will still be dreaming of living. The question isn't whether the 1% principle works. 2,000 years of Stoic philosophy proves it works. Modern neuroscience proves it works. Millions of transformed lives prove it works. The question is, will you make it work for you? The moment of decision is now, not when you finish reading. Not when you feel like it, not when the circumstances are perfect. Now, this moment, this breath, this choice. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confuse yourself into thinking you have many years ahead of you. Death will come. While you live, while it is possible, become good. Become good, 1% at a time. Starting now." The promise and the price. Let me make a promise and a warning. The promise. If you grow 1% a day for the next 365 days, you will be unrecognizable, not just physically or professionally, fundamentally. You will be a different person with different capabilities, living a different life. The warning, this transformation comes at a price. You will lose friends who feel threatened by your growth. You will lose the ability to settle for mediocrity. You will lose your favorite excuses. You will lose the person you were to become, the person you can be. Many are not willing to pay this price. They prefer the familiar to the extraordinary. They prefer approval to growth. They prefer fitting in to standing out. If this is you, there is no shame in that. But be honest about the choice you're making. For those willing to pay the price, the reward is incomparable. It is not just external success, although that often comes. It is the deep satisfaction of knowing you are living your potential. It's the unshakable confidence that comes from promises kept to yourself. It's the peace of a life aligned with your deepest values. Epictetus, who spent half his life as a slave, said, "No one is free unless he is master of himself." 1% a day is the path to this mastery. Every small victory is a link in the chain of freedom. Every habit maintained is a declaration of independence from the tyranny of impulse. The beginning of the journey, so here we are. 13,000 words later, you know the principle, you know the science, you've seen the examples, you understand the protocol. The only thing missing is action. Choose an area, just one. Health, knowledge, skills, relationships. It doesn't matter which, as long as it's important to you. Set the smallest step possible, so small that it seems ridiculous, so easy that it's impossible to fail. Do it today. Mark it on the calendar. Do it tomorrow. Mark it again. Keep marking it until the chain becomes sacred. Until breaking the chain hurts more than keeping it. Until the extraordinary becomes ordinary. In a year, you will look back and be amazed. Not at how much has changed. That will be obvious. But at how simple it was. 1% a day. The same. Small action repeated with religious consistency. Nothing dramatic, nothing heroic. Just the relentless application of the most powerful principle of human growth. The Stoics had an expression, "Faber est suae quisque fortunae." Each person is the craftsman of their own destiny. The daily 1% is your tool. Each day is your opportunity. Each choice is your hammer blow on the marble of your future. The statue you are carving is yourself. The question is not whether you will carve. Each day you are adding or taking away, improving or worsening, growing or dying. The question is, will you carve consciously or let chance and circumstance hold the chisel? The last word. There is a story about Socrates that perfectly concludes our journey. A young man came to him saying, "I want wisdom." Socrates took him to the river and plunged his head under. The young man struggled, but Socrates held him. When he finally released him, the young man emerged, gasping for breath. Socrates asked, "What did you want most when you were underwater?" "Air," the young man replied. Socrates said, "When you want wisdom as much as you wanted air, you will find it. 1% a day isn't about wanting change. It's about needing change, like you need air. It's about making growth non-negotiable. It's about deciding that the person you will be a year from now is more important than the comfort you feel now." Millions will read these words. Thousands will be inspired. Hundreds will make a plan. Dozens will start. Units will persist. Which group you choose isn't about talent, resources, or circumstances. It's about a simple decision repeated daily. Grow 1%. Stoic philosophy has survived 2,000 years because it works. The 1% principle is its purest and most practical application. It doesn't require faith, only mathematics. It doesn't require talent, only consistency. It doesn't require perfection, only persistence. You have everything you need. The knowledge, the ability, the opportunity. The only thing that can stop you is the choice not to start or the choice not to continue. Both are choices. Both have consequences. Both define destinies. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor who began our journey, wrote his last known words on the eve of a battle that could decide the fate of Rome. What we do now echoes into eternity. Your daily 1% is your echo. Every small action is a ripple in the lake of time. Every habit maintained is a message to the future. The message you will send, the person you will become, the legacy you will leave. It all starts with 1%, today, now, in this moment. The choice, as it always has been and always will be, is yours. Make it. Subscribe now to receive daily content on applied Stoic philosophy and personal transformation. Each day, a new insight. Each insight, 1% growth. Each percent a step toward your full potential. Like this content if it resonated with you. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Comment on your 1% zone. Join a community of people who have chosen growth over comfort, discipline over excuses, the extraordinary over the ordinary. The time is now. The choice is yours. The future is waiting. Start your 1%.